Hello, this is Dread, and this is going to be more of a casual video today. This is going to be an update to the video that I posted yesterday about the BAMA leveling. This is the finished Voidstone run. This is me getting to Eater after about 10 hours of progression. That's much slower than the normal, like, 6 hours that, like, the speedrunners do it or whatever. But of course, I'm playing BAMA, not playing a real build. So, Bama was serviceable for the entire run. I will say the damage kind of fell off a little bit at the end. It wasn't like the most damage ever, but as you can tell, Dread is just zonked out right now and forgets to use his sniper's mark. And once you use the sniper mark, it's much better. So I'm around like 800k DPS in POB technically. I'm not entirely sure if that's true or not. It doesn't feel like 800k DPS. I'm not used to doing Voidstone runs. This is like the first Voidstone run I think I've actually ever done. So I'm a little bit new to the strategy and working with what you have instead of using trade. Because I'll be honest, I'm a trade Andy all the way. I don't play SSF. So like in trade, this would have been much better, obviously, because you could at least get a 5 link, right? And there are certain uniques that could make the damage go through the roof and stuff with Bama. So overall, it was acceptable. I died a few times. I just want to let you know that I did die a few times, but I'm going to be honest, all of it is through like personal incompetence. It's actually like look at this. Like watch this death right here, right? I am zonked out of my mind. I am so tired. Watch this shit. Like one moment here. Let me get it to that point here. I'm waiting for it. So a little orb, I think, spawns. Yep, there it spawns right there, and I'm just stupid, and I shoot my Bama too quickly. I mean, too early, and then that fucking happens. So definitely not the tankiest build ever if you actually just stand in the balls. Now, one thing I want to note, I actually want to bring up some gameplay of tier 16 maps. So one of the biggest problems with this build, at least early on here, is the fact that you are effectively on a 3-link while mapping. Why is that? Well, if we go and look at my gear here, we're actually utilizing LMP instead of like an actual damage support. If you could get like added lightning here, it would be much more damage. The problem is Bama, for some reason, it's a little weird with the targeting. If you don't have like extra projectiles, like your clear feels terrible. You need the extra projectiles to get a like better clear. I think at the earliest, you just want one extra projectile. That's all you need, to be honest. Just one extra projectile. And of course, you also mandatory, like this is mandatory getting the Pierce Quiver, but that's with this version of Bama, right? This is the like generally objectively bad version, because guess what? In the next patch, we're going to have access to Blink Arrow of Bombarding Clones, which will allow us to clear much better. So if we go and watch that footage again here, right? The biggest problem by far with this build is I only have 1 pierce and 2 extra projectiles, so my clear is a little meh. I'm doing plenty of damage to kill things. They're just the arrows aren't reaching the targets because I only have +1 pierce, right? Obviously, because guess what? They're using basic attack. The clones are using basic attack. But if the clones are using, or one of the clones anyways, I can have 3 of them, are using rain of arrows, that will expedite my clear significantly more than this. And it will also, the rain of arrows, instead of being on a essentially a 3-link that I'm currently on with my current setup, I'll actually be on a 4-link on both of them, because the rain of arrows should provide enough clear that I don't even have to use LMP on the second clone, right? So the second clone, the mirror arrow clone, which is not the bombarding clone, it'll just be a single target setup. So I'll have half single target setup, half clear setup, and that should like carry you much better than the experience I had. I just wanted to test it to see if it was even possible to do the Voidstone run. I never actually did Exarch, and that's just because Exarch is an annoying fight, and I'll be honest, like I've fought enough of Exarch, and I really wanted to go to sleep at the time. So I did end up going to sleep instead of fighting Exarch, but I could have if I wanted to. But yeah, that's pretty much it for the gameplay and how the build performed in the Voidstone run. The things I want to talk about. So one thing that I forgot about last video was, of course, setting up elemental equilibrium. This is like a mandatory. So the way you have to set this up, there's a few things you need to know. You need to make sure that your anger here is on generosity, okay? Because when you are applying your exposure on hit, right, with Elemental Equilibrium with your Eye of Winter here, right, on your Arcanist brand, you need to make sure that it does not have any extra damage that doesn't say cold damage, right? You need to not have anything that says cold damage, right? Which is great, so that we can apply Elemental Equilibrium for negative 50% resistance on enemies, which is absolutely insane for us, right? That's great. So I ended up going for, of course, an Arcanist brand setup with Eye of Winter to apply my Elemental Equilibrium, right? And make sure that you don't hit the enemy with your clones, like that projectile. It'll actually do a small hit and it will apply exposure. But if you have an Arcanist brand on the enemies, it'll be fine. Another thing that made this Voidstone run harder than it needed to be was I never dropped a cluster jewel, a medium cluster jewel, right? That will give me the Blessed Rebirth, the minions cannot be damaged if you've cast them recently. That is like mandatory for end game BAMA setups, so because it'll make it so that your BAMAs are immortal, of course, right? Now, of course, I didn't have that because it was an SSF, and I'm happy that I tried this character in SSF to do a Voidstone run, just so that I know the weaknesses that we have to deal with, right? Now, there's a lot of other stuff in the gear, but like, let me just show you how bad my gear is. My bow is not remarkable. You just want lightning damage, fire damage. That's all you want. Attack speed's great too. This is a good base. So like overall, my bow's decent. If you do not have the Rain of Arrows clone, you definitely want a penetrating arrow quiver. That is your best in slot. Best in slot, but by far, because you essentially just need this, because otherwise your clear is going to be dog without the peers, which is, very good to know. Of course, my chest is just the ES chest to get me more energy shields so I can actually use my Anger setup. My ring is like okay. It's like not the best, obviously. Like all my gear is absolute dog, obviously. This is literally just a 4 link. That's all this is. Like that's literally what it is. My belt's like whatever. My boots are like whatever. My boots actually didn't have movement speed on them. Just like only like 12% movement speed. I'm only at 48% chance to suppress plus the lucky, or I think I took off the lucky because I went for more life. But yeah, overall, the build was pretty good for the Voidstone run. Of course, obviously, it wasn't the best, but that's what the Rain of Arrows Bombarding Clone is supposed to fix. So, in theory, that's what I'm going to be probably league starting next league. So, with all that being said, this has been Dread. Off to go do something else. Bye.